Has it ever occurred to us that maybe life is a lot more intelligent than we are? That maybe life knows the changes that we need, the obstacles or the challenges that we need to face a lot more than we do. Or maybe the tide of life is the version of ourselves that is always walking one step ahead of us, that is always molding and shaping us into what we need to be. And what if the only job, the only thing that we need to do in this thing that we call life is to simply let go and trust it? Is to simply let go and go with it. Is to simply let go and surrender to life. What if that truly is the only thing that we really have to do in this thing that we call life? I've always sort of been the type of person that really hated, change for the most part, right? When it comes down to change is something that I absolutely hate, right? Because I like to live in the realm of the known, or in the realm of what's familiar. Because living in that world sort of gives me this illusion of control, right? Like I'm truly in control of life when things are familiar, when things are known. So I really spent most of my life trying to control everything, trying to be in control of everything. But one thing that I had to come to realize was that my need for control, my need to have control over everything, was the reason why I was in control of very little or nothing at all in my life. And the only way I could truly have control, as paradoxical as it sounds, the only way I could truly have control is to simply let go of my need for control. Is to simply let go of my need for control and simply surrender to life. Simply trust life. Simply go with the flow of life and truly have faith that anything that is happening in my life, whatever obstacle, whatever changes, whatever it is that life is throwing at me, is for my highest good. And the only thing that I can truly control are my reactions, my actions, what I do. That was truly the only thing that I could control. And I think most of us spend most of our lives constantly fighting against life, constantly in battle with life, because we find it hard to simply accept that when it comes down to life, we're in control of very little. All we can control are ourselves. All we can control are our actions. And anything else, it is up to us to trust that everything is happening in our favor. It is up to us to trust life and surrender to it, knowing that whatever happens, we are going to be okay. Knowing that whatever happens or whatever is going to happen is going to happen for our highest good, right? And this is why I think faith is such a big thing. This is why I think faith is such an important thing, right? I often conceptualize faith as the ability of the heart to see what the eyes cannot. And I think when it comes on to life, if we allow ourselves to truly just trust our hearts, truly just trust life, then we're always going to be okay. I think our hearts are sort of connected to the unknown parts of life, right? The unknown tide of life. Our hearts are connected to that unknown part of life. And simply just trusting our hearts, having faith, having the belief, having the conviction that no matter what happens in our lives, we are going to be okay. No matter what changes, no matter what obstacles we are faced with, we are going to be okay And it's really about letting go of our need for control and trusting life. Now I remember when I used to go to the beach or the river back in Jamaica, right? I always saw people floating. And back then I was young and I used to wonder, how the hell did they do that? How the hell were they capable of keeping their bodies afloat on the surface of the water? Because every time that I tried to do it, I would just literally just fall into the water, right? I could never do it, no matter how much I tried initially. And I remember asking my uncle to teach me one day, right? I went to my uncle and I asked him to teach me how to float. And he agreed, right? And I remember when he was teaching me one day, I would sort of try to hold on to the water. I would try to grip onto the water in order to not fall into the water, right? And I was kind of anxious and scared, that I was going to drown. I remember him looking at me and he said to me, the reason why you're not floating is because you're not trusting. The reason why you're not floating is because you're not letting go. You need to let go if you want to float. You need to let go and trust that the water will keep you afloat. And I remember trying a few times, and on sort of the third or the fourth try after that, I remember I got into this state in which I gave up my need to resist and cling on to the water, right? And I really just, I don't know how it happened, but I started to really just trust the water. I started to relax. And in that moment, I really started to float. That was the first time I ever floated in my life, right? So I was really on the surface of the water, floating, just relaxing. And I realized that the reason why I couldn't do it was really because I was trying to sort of hold on to the water. And I was sort of in this state of fear that I was going to drown. And the reason why, or the change that took place, which allowed me to float, was me allowing myself to let go. Allowing myself to let go and truly trust that the water will support me. And I think when it comes on to life, when it comes on to navigating life, faith is really about letting go. Faith isn't a matter of holding on. Faith is truthfully letting go and trusting that no matter what, life is going to support us. Just as how I was able to let go in that moment, and the moment I let go, I started to float. I think the moment we let go of our control or our need to hold on to life and hold on to things and allow ourselves to embrace change and embrace the unknown, that is when life is truly going to support us. Or I should say, that is when we recognize that life is always supporting us. Right? Life is always on our side. Even when things seem bleak, even when things seem terrible, absolutely horrible in the moment, life is always supporting us. And life is always giving us what we need. And when I say life is always giving us what we need, what I mean is that life is always giving us what we need to grow. Right? Life is always giving us what we need to move forward. Life is always giving us what we need to learn. Life is constantly giving us all that we need. And so once we truly recognize this, I think that is when we truly start trusting life. That's when we start trusting change. That is when we start to truly accept life for what it is. Right? No matter what changes take place out here, changes outside of our control, letting go and allow ourselves to trust that this is life working out in our favor, and this is life unfolding things how things are meant to unfold is the only way we're going to have any sort of control or have any sort of peace, any sort of joy in this thing that we call life, right? Letting go and just allow things to be as they are, right? Letting go of the fact that someone decided to leave our lives. Letting go of the fact that we didn't get that job opportunity or whatever it is that we applied for. Letting go of whatever it is that decides to leave our lives or whatever change decides to take place. Allowing ourselves to let go and embrace that change is the only way we're going to be at peace in this life. Most of our suffering truly does come from our resistance to change, right? When change is taking place, if you're constantly resisting, if you're constantly fighting against it, you're fighting against life. And you can never truly fight against life and win. You can never truly fight against life and come out on top. You are always going to lose to life, right? We have to allow ourselves to let go and trust life. We have to allow ourselves to let go and know that life knows more than we do. Know that life knows the challenges that we need, the obstacles that we need, the changes that we need a lot more than we do. That's the point we have to get to in our lives. And I sort of look back at every single change or every single obstacle that I was faced with in my life, right? And in the moment, I cursed them, right? In the moment, I couldn't bring myself to accept them. But now that I'm able to sort of, detach from those feelings and really just reflect and reminisce, the more I begin to realize that a lot of the things that truly happened to me were some of my greatest blessings, right? All the people that I lost, or all the people who walked out of my life, all the opportunities that I didn't get, all the obstacles that I was faced with, all of it was for my highest good. And I can literally look back at every single challenge, every single obstacle, and I kid you not, I can pinpoint at least 5 things that I learned from those experiences, or at least 5 ways in which those things truly changed my life and helped me become the person that I am today, right? But I don't think we always have to wait until way after the experience has passed for us to truly appreciate or sort of have some degree of positivity while going through our experiences, right? I think if you're able to be in the midst of a particular change or a particular challenge, and you hold the idea or you hold the thought that this is all working out in my favor, or things are working out how they're meant to be, or you hold the thought or the idea that everything is going to be alright, I think you're able to go through your challenges and your obstacles with a lot more positivity. And in that way, you're able to sort of affect things even in the slightest way, right? So we don't always have to wait until challenges pass for us to look back and reflect and sort of see, why that happened and how I benefited from that. You can be in the middle of that change and the middle of an obstacle and say to yourself, this is working out how it's supposed to be. This is working out in my favor. This is working out in my highest good. And all I have to do is to simply let go and trust it. Because life is always on my side. Life is always supporting me. Just as how I was able to float the moment that I let go in that story. The moment we're able to let go and trust life, that is when we truly begin to sort of float, or that is when we truly begin to prosper in our own lives as well. Once we begin to embrace change. And I think something that I sort of asked myself the other day was that what if me resisting the changes that life brings to me? What if me resisting life or failing to surrender to life was me sort of resisting the version of myself that I could become, right? And what I mean by that is, if life knows more than I do, or if the tide of life is a version of me that is always walking ahead of me and is always molding or shaping me into what I need to be, then that means if I resist the changes that come my way, if I resist the challenges and the obstacles that come my way, I am sort of resisting the ideal or the future version of myself that is more evolved, that is more loving, that is more healed, that is more compassionate, that is more joyful, right? I am resisting that version of myself because anything that happens in our lives is constantly shaping us, is constantly molding us. The only reason why I am the person that I am today is because of my experiences, is because of my challenges, is because of the changes that took place in my life. That is the only reason why I am this person that I am today. That is the only reason why I'm able to come on this camera and speak from my heart and speak from my experiences, because I've been through those things, because I encountered those challenges, right? So me resisting any sort of change that life brings to me is me resisting a better version of myself. But stepping into that version of us that is all that we desire to be begins with us, embracing change. Begins with us embracing our challenges or obstacles that come our way. That is truthfully the only way. But the more we resist the changes that life brings to us, the more we constantly fight against life, is the more we know we not only suffer internally, but also the more we keep ourselves stagnant. Because the only true way to grow in this thing that we call life is acceptance, is embracing change, is embracing our obstacles, is embracing our challenges, and knowing that no matter what happens, no matter what we go through, no matter what we're faced with, all of it is happening for our highest good, and we are going to be okay. That is truthfully the only way. So if changes and things begin to take place in your life, if you're at a point in your life in which it feels as if things are just really just falling apart or nothing makes sense, and every once in a while we get to that place. If you're at that place in your life, know that you will be okay. Know that life is rearranging things to fit the new you, or to help you blossom into that new you. And allowing yourself to let go and trust it. Allowing yourself to let go and have faith and have conviction that the best version of you, the elevated version of you, is on the other side of that change, is on the other side of that obstacle, is on the other side of that challenge, that your joy is on the other side of your current pain. Letting go and trusting and going with that flow is how you're going to step into the new you. It truthfully is. Alright? So that's it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being here with me. And I will see y'all in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Give yourselves a little bit of love every day, like I always say. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace and blessings.